Good day. My name is Nigel Brown. I'm here with Bangs McGee, a slave owner in South Carolina. Today we're going to be talking about many aspects of American slavery. The first, the Three-Fifths Compromise. Now tell me more about the Three-Fifths Compromise.
Well, the Three-Fifths Compromise was a compromise between the North and the South in the Constitution where slaves would be counted as 3/5 of a person. The South wanted their slaves to be considered to be counted as people because that would make their population larger, which would in turn give them more reps in Congress. But they did not want the slaves to be counted if taxation was going to be based on population, because then they would have more people and therefore would get taxed more. But, however, the North did not want slaves to be counted as a whole person because it would make slavery a lot harder to get rid of because the South would have more reps to vote on pro-slavery legislation.
And why did this give the South more power?
Because this caused the South to have more reps in Congress because slaves were counted as 3/5 of a person. This included the House of Representatives and the Electoral College. This compromise gave the South a disproportionate influence on the government in all three branches. In the executive branch, the South had a greater influence on who the president could be. Since they had more people to vote on who the president was going to be, they could choose a president who was more pro-slavery and could help preserve slavery throughout the country. This compromise affected the judicial branch because since the South had more reps, they could choose judges who were more pro-slavery and could vote their way in controversial cases that came into the courts about slavery. It affected the legislative branch because since they had more reps, they could pass pro-slavery legislation, which would also help preserve slavery throughout the country.
And why did the North allow this to be included in the Constitution?
Because the North needed the South to agree on this Constitution, and if there were not at least some pro-slavery acts in the Constitution, the South would not agree to it. So, including slaves as 3/5 of a person, giving them more reps in Congress was a good compromise.
And why would the North promote secession from the Union?
Well, because anti-slavery activists like Garrison promoted secession because they saw themselves as political victims of an overwhelmingly pro-slavery government. And they saw themselves as victims of conspiracies between the slaveholders and the Western expansionists. These Western expansionists and slaveholders wanted slavery to spread to the newly conquered or newly acquired states in the West, and the Northerners saw this as slavery overwhelming the country and affecting the government. So they saw secession as the only solution to this problem.
And how would seceding end the slavery?
Well, seceding would end slavery because the North would no longer be a part of the country. This means that all laws and acts in the Constitution would no longer apply to them because they're their own country. The laws such as fugitive slave law would not apply, and therefore slaves could just run away to the North, and the North would not be obligated to return the slaves back to the South, and they would not be forbidden from helping the slaves run away from the South because the fugitive slave law and other pro-slavery legislation would no longer apply. Also, the Southern slave owners could not come up to the North and just kidnap their slaves legally because they are no longer part of the Union and therefore don't have that power. Eventually, all the slaves would just flee to the North because the slave owners in the South couldn't stop them, and then there would be no slaves left in the South.
Very interesting. That's all we have for today. Thank you very much.
See you next time. Please be funny.